She came for her twin brother. Then the SEAL base was overrun, until she picked up the rifle. The SEAL base was supposed to be untouchable, hidden deep beyond hostile lines, protected by layers of security. It was the last place anyone expected trouble. But on that night, trouble didn't announce itself with explosions or alarms. It arrived quietly, in the form of a woman walking through the front gate. She wasn't wearing combat gear, no rifle, no rank markings that demanded attention, just a visitor badge clipped to her jacket and a single name written on the form she held in her hand. She had come for her twin brother. The guards barely looked twice. Families visited the base all the time, siblings, parents, old friends. She smiled politely, thanked them, and walked inside as if she belonged there. And in a way, she did, more than anyone realized. Her brother was one of the base's best operators. Same face, same eyes, same calm expression. What no one knew was that they'd grown up training together. Same drills, same discipline, same ruthless standard. Only one of them had chosen to wear the uniform. She hadn't. Inside the barracks, the air felt wrong. Too quiet. Radios crackled with static. Distant lights flickered for just a second longer than they should have. She felt it immediately, that familiar pressure in her chest that came right before chaos. Then the alarm screamed. Red lights flooded the corridors. Shouts echoed across the base as explosions ripped through the outer perimeter. Enemy forces, fast, coordinated, and ruthless, were breaching from multiple angles. This wasn't a raid. This was a takeover. SEALs scrambled for weapons. Orders were shouted. Gunfire erupted in the distance. She ran. Not away from the chaos, but straight toward it. She reached the armory just as a blast knocked two operators off their feet. Smoke filled the hallway. Her brother was supposed to be on duty there. She searched frantically through the haze. Then she saw him. Pinned down, wounded, alive, but barely. She dropped beside him, dragging him behind cover as bullets tore into the walls around them. "You came?" he gasped, half smiling despite the blood. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her eyes locked onto the rifle lying just out of reach on the floor. The base was being overrun. Communications were failing. Reinforcements were minutes too late. And in that moment, with her brother bleeding beside her and the sound of enemy boots closing in, she reached for the rifle. Not as a visitor, not as a civilian, but something else entirely. Something the enemy never expected. Her fingers wrapped around the rifle like they'd never let go of it. The weight felt familiar, too familiar for someone who wasn't supposed to be here. She checked the magazine without thinking, chambered around in one smooth motion, and leaned into cover as bullets tore through the corridor. A SEAL beside her shouted, "Ma'am, stay down!" She didn't. She rose just enough to see the hallway and fired. One shot, clean, precise. The enemy soldier dropped before he even realized he'd been seen. The SEALs froze. That wasn't luck. That wasn't panic firing. That was trained muscle memory. She moved again, repositioning with calm efficiency, covering angles most people wouldn't even notice. 2 more shots echoed through the smoke, 2 more targets down. The hallway fell silent except for ringing ears and heavy breathing. One SEAL team leader stared at her. "Who the hell are you?" She didn't answer. She was already moving. She dragged her brother farther into cover, pressed her hand against his wound, and spoke quietly. "Stay with me. Don't move until I tell you." Then she stood, fully this time. Enemy forces were pouring in from the eastern corridor. Too many, too fast. She adjusted her stance, steadied her breathing, and began to work. Every shot counted. No wasted movement, no hesitation. She controlled the choke points, forcing the attackers into narrow lanes where numbers meant nothing. The SEALs around her fell into rhythm, instinctively following her lead. Someone yelled over the gunfire, "She's clearing them, by herself!" The base was still under siege, but something had shifted. Confusion spread among the attackers. They expected resistance, but not this. Not a single shooter stopping entire squads cold. One of the SEAL team leaders keyed his radio. "We've got an unknown shooter holding the armory. Highly effective. Repeat, highly effective." She heard it and ignored it.
Her focus was absolute. When her magazine ran dry, she swapped it in seconds. When smoke blocked her view, she changed angles. When the enemy adapted, she adapted faster. This wasn't bravery. This was experience. Her brother watched from the floor, eyes wide despite the pain. He knew that stance, that timing, that calm. He'd seen it before, years ago, on a dirt range where she'd always beaten him. The realization hit him hard. "She's better than me," he whispered. The SEALs were starting to realize it too, and as the enemy regrouped for a final push, one thing became painfully clear. This base wasn't falling tonight. Not while she was standing.
The enemy came back harder. Explosions shook the outer buildings as coordinated squads pushed from multiple corridors, testing the base's defenses. The SEALs were stretched thin, ammo running low, communications fractured, medics overwhelmed. But at the center of it all, she stood calm. She repositioned without orders, pointing out angles, predicting movements before they happened. The SEALs around her didn't question it anymore. They listened. They moved when she moved. "Two coming left in 5 seconds," she said quietly. 5 seconds later, they appeared. They never made it past the doorway. One of the team leaders stared at her between bursts of fire. "You ever trained with us?" She shook her head. "Not officially." That answer only deepened the mystery. She climbed to an elevated position overlooking the courtyard. From there, she could see the entire approach. Enemy trucks burned at the perimeter. Shadows moved between cover. The assault was organized. Someone smart was leading it. She slowed her breathing. One shot took out the commander. The attack immediately lost cohesion. Another shot disabled a heavy weapon. A third stopped a flanking maneuver before it began. Below, a SEAL whispered, "She's dismantling them, piece by piece." Flashbacks flickered in her mind, not to battlefields, but to years earlier. 2 siblings on a makeshift range, 1 rifle between them, long days, longer nights. Her brother always good. She was always better. He had chosen the uniform. She had chosen the shadows. Private contracts, unmarked operations, work that never came with medals or headlines. Until tonight. The enemy pushed again, desperate now. She adjusted for wind, distance, fatigue, things most shooters forgot under pressure. Her rifle spoke with finality. Silence followed. For the first time since the alarms began, the base wasn't shaking. A SEAL approached her position, eyes locked on her with something close to awe. "If you're not one of us, then what are you?" She finally looked at him. "I'm her sister," she said simply, glancing back toward the armory where her brother lay. "And tonight, that's enough." But the SEALs knew better. This wasn't just family loyalty. This was elite-level mastery, on par with the best operators they'd ever trained. The enemy was regrouping for one last attempt, and this time, the SEALs were ready. Because now, they weren't defending the base alone. They were fighting alongside her. The final assault came just before dawn. Enemy forces surged from the tree line and outer buildings, throwing everything they had left at the base. Automatic fire lit the darkness, and explosions rolled across the ground like thunder. If this push succeeded, the base would fall. She didn't hesitate. She took position on the highest overlook, rifle steady, mind clear. Below her, SEALs moved with renewed purpose, trusting every call she made. Hold center, left flank in 10, snipers on the ridge, 3 of them. Her shots came first. 3 quiet cracks split the air. 3 threats vanished before they could fire a single round. The enemy faltered. SEALs counterattacked, pushing forward with precision, reclaiming ground inch by inch. Every time the attackers tried to regroup, her rifle shut them down. She controlled the battlefield like a conductor leading an orchestra of controlled violence. Then, it ended. The gunfire faded. Smoke drifted upward. The last enemy retreated into the dark, leaving silence in its wake. The base still stood. A SEAL commander approached her as medics worked on the wounded. "You saved this place," he said plainly. "We need to know who you are." She looked toward her brother, now stabilized, breathing steadily. Only then did she allow herself to relax. "I used to do work like this, before he joined, before I disappeared." The commander studied her. He'd seen top-tier operators his entire career, and she ranked among the best. "You ever think about coming back?" She shook her head. Tonight was for him. The SEALs stood in silence, respect heavy in the air. They hadn't just been helped, they'd been led by someone with no rank, no patch, no reason to fight except loyalty. As dawn broke over the base, she prepared to leave the same way she arrived, quietly. Her brother caught her hand. "You always were the better shot." She smiled. Someone had to be. She walked away before anyone could stop her, leaving behind a story that would never make the official reports, but would live forever among the SEALs who were there that night. At United War, stories like this remind us that not all heroes wear uniforms, and sometimes the most dangerous defender is the one who came only to save family.